Welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abbie Richie. I'm the founder and CEO of Senior Savvy. And on the Tech Tuesday, you can find me here every Tuesday talking about tech innovations as they impact residents living in senior living communities. Before we get started and bring on our guests, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, ProCare HR. In the care industry, if you don't have strong labor management, you don't have a business. And if you aren't reaching out to a trusted HR partner, you can start to experience high turnover, HR, clinical fines, uncontrolled expenses, and low satisfaction with your residents. ProCare HR is the only HR solution exclusively serving the care industry. And if you're ready to get control of your labor management, reach out to ProCare HR at procarehr.com. And let's run our intro. Welcome back to the show. I want to go ahead and bring my guests on today. We are talking about transfer tech, ways to transfer patients safely. And so my guest today, we've got Gina Adams. Gina is the CEO and founder of Wareologie. Welcome to the show, Gina. I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be part of this discussion.
Really. And I also have Jay Singh. Jay is the CEO of Able Innovations. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Abbie.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you two could make it. When I first started doing research on this topic, I'll be honest with you. First of all, it's a hard thing to search for. There isn't, specific names and ways to search for it. And second, it took me a while to put this show together. And I'm just ecstatic that you two are here to bring light to this necessary topic. So first, Gina, could you please tell us about your company, about Wareologie and what you do?
Sure. Thank you again for having us. Wareologie, we develop assistive devices to help people regain levels of independence and self-care. We were founded in 2019 after witnessing the impact of Parkinson's on my father. So we first developed an assistive dressing aid. And then when the pandemic hit, we were looking at how people with disabilities were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. And there was a call to action by skilled nursing clinicians that had residents suffering from immobilization and quarantine. And that's when we were fortunate to be awarded a contract to work with Veterans Health Administration subject matter experts to develop a mobile solution.
I love it. And thank you for mentioning the veterans also. I definitely like to talk about veterans, especially in light of Veterans Day. And Jay, how about you? Can you please tell us about Able Innovations?
Yeah, absolutely. So in some ways, we parallel Gina's story. We started around the same time, and it came out of us witnessing the impact of transfers on our loved ones. So in my case, it was my mom who works in long-term care. And ever since I've been quite young, I've seen a struggle with the key act of lifting and moving residents and patients. It's a task that nobody really enjoys. She is sacrificing her well-being, and it's not like the residents are particularly enjoying it. And it's a great source of discomfort on all ends. And to my mom's, and she's now suffering from chronic injuries that result to this day. And my background is from robotics in various other industries. But when I looked at the space, it was quite evident to me that the task of transferring patients, which is getting, let it be in and out of bed or between beds and stretchers, it happens very frequently. And it's often the most undignified task for individuals. So what we've been on the pursuit of is using robotics to automate this process, allow caregivers the ability to provide compassionate care again, and for the patients and residents to have a very dignified experience. And where we are on our journey right now is we have demonstrated our technology to work with only one operator at the push of a button can now transfer individuals in a lateral fashion, so from lying down to lying down. And similar to Gina, actually, we were also awarded a CRADA with the VA INET, and they've been instrumental in getting us to the point where we are.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. One thing I've noticed in working in senior living is that there are so many of us that have been drawn to this industry because of what we've experienced with our family members and those that we love dearly. And I love that heart-centeredness that so many people have in this industry. So thank you. And thank you for doing that. I want to so we can inform our audience, why is transferring patients so tricky, Gina? Why is it such a tricky thing?
Well, it's really, I think it stems from our healthcare industry is facing a $34 billion healthcare crisis and patient falls in hospitals specifically. And I know that a lot of your viewers are in the skilled nursing facility space and just understand that there are risky patients. And so many of the devices that we have are dependent, meaning the patient has very low ambulatory skill set. And so there's a risk analysis involved there, right? Like there's, tons of incredible NIH research that illustrates the advantages to early mobilization and receiving therapy just 24 hours sooner results in shortened length of stay, as well as the reduction in therapy required post discharge, if you're in an inpatient setting. But the tools that we have right now are either electronic and dependent, where the patient cannot bear weight, or they're on the extreme and they're walkers or rollators that just do not provide the stability for patients to stand confidently. And as you know, when you walk, literally, when we try something new, if we're not confident about it, sometimes that makes us even more susceptible to accidents, right? When you're uncertain and facing that.
Yeah. That is true. Jay, can you tell us what are some of the consequences of transfers, both proper and improper?
Yeah. So, and to complement what Gina is saying, we're aging as a society. So the problematic issues with transfers are, it requires a lot of labor and backbreaking work. So that's the root of, and the consequences are equal. As a population, we are able to live longer. Medicine has made that possible, but not necessarily healthier. So we're spending a greater extent of our life essentially bedridden. And that's why the problems around transfers are now being exacerbated as we're aging as a society. And the caregiver side is now moving in the opposite direction. We're under-resourced. The consequences are there are never adequate resources to conduct these transfers. The caregiver's duty is to the patient, and if a patient needs to be moved, sometimes they may sacrifice their own well-being and use that as judgment, and that can result in the worst cases, really bad injuries to both the patient and the caregiver. And a lot of students now are getting injured in their placements as they go into long-term care and in healthcare in general. So it's exacerbating the current paradigm that we're seeing. And I guess lastly, I'll just say that we can't ignore the dignity aspect for the patients. I think the consequences of that are really, really, we don't talk about it enough, but that's also extremely important to highlight.
Yeah, I want to put the quote that Christine just typed in the chat a minute ago about the comfort level and the dignity. Yeah, so care workers are worrying about what's happening in their own body. Exactly. And then the next one as well, please, Jada. And that they do feel stress and strain. And it's a recipe for injury, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah. So, and there was something else I wanted to say. A couple of weeks ago, I had on guests to talk about toilet tech and how having better technology in the toilet helps and aids with that dignity aspect, because nobody wants to be lifted to and from the toilet, and that falls in line here. And so what I want to know from you, Gina, as it is today, what innovations currently exist in this technology?
So what we've relied on, and I should say first and foremost that it may come as no surprise that therapists and staff and aides that administer transfers and lifts account for over 55% of workers' comp claims. So it is a real problem, and the data is there. And so, our heart goes out to Christine, of course, and these people who are faced with this daily, because as Jay mentioned, as aides, we are, of course, our first a concern is the health and wellness of our patient. And sometimes, unfortunately, we do put our own well-being on the line. So we're hoping that with new technology, we can alleviate some of that strain. And that's why we're here today. But currently, the electronic lifts like Hoyer lifts and Sarah Steadies are what we've relied on in the past. And these are dependent. And so the patient doesn't have a lot of control. And in fact, with Hoyer lifts, as you mentioned, the dignity aspect of that, or if they're left in bed, then they're using bedpans to administer going to the bathroom, right? And so that's one of the reasons you have innovators like Jay and I here today to share that there are new solutions. We have basically developed a portable parallel bar tool that now can deliver standing and gait training directly to the patient's bedside, so we can eliminate some of the risky transfers and timely transports down to a gym. So mobile therapy is becoming really commonplace, where people are more comfortable being treated in the privacy and convenience of their room versus having to be transported, as well as having the confidence to stand, and whether it is just eliminating bed sores or blood clots, right? And getting moving sooner and earlier in the recovery process.
I would love to see some images of this. Jada, if you could cue those up and show them so we can demonstrate to the audience exactly what this solution provides, that would be great. So as Jada is queuing that up, thank you. Gina, if there's anything you want to narrate on there, feel free to go right ahead.
Certainly, I'll introduce Peter DeSalvo is our subject matter expert that provided direct
Hi,
input.
I'm Peter DeSalvo. I'm a physical therapist here at the Richmond VA. I worked with Wareologie to help, I collaborated with them to help invent and design these portable parallel bars. I'm going to show you how easy they are to break down and to move around the hospital. So we're going to break down this arm first because it's in its fully narrowed position. So I'm going to open up the locks, get it to the fully wide position. Now I'll go down over here. Each one of these locks you undo, slides right down. Fold this arm down. Then we get the outriggers. We push the outriggers in. So the outriggers will give it a little bit more stability when you have a patient in the bars. So we'll get this side in as well. Now I can take these bars and drop them down just by simply opening up the lock, dropping it down, unlocking that, swinging this arm down, and then we lock it into place so that when it's moving around, it doesn't come unloose. Now I'll lift it up.
How heavy
Turn
is
to the
that?
side, and I'll show you. Slide the wheels out.
For showing that. So yeah, it's 68 pounds, but it withstands 600 pounds. So we have a mechanical solution. I'm about simple solutions. Although it looks simple, it is an engineering feat to have a self-standing parallel bar set that's mobile, lightweight, but withstands over 600 pounds. So it's been, that was only the second time Peter set it up when he did that demonstration. So part of our intention was to have an intuitive design, because integrating new technology can be a real strain on clinicians, and we want to provide a tool that was easy to integrate and use with patients immediately. So While there's amazing technology out there, we're pretty proud of the fact that this is something everybody understands the value of parallel bars. It's just in the past, they were always stationary, heavy, and located in a gym, so not accessible.
Got it. Thank you. And Jay, how about your solution? How does your solution provide support?
Right. And one little tidbit of other technologies is the same patent that was used to file for the Hoyer lift was the same patent that was used to file for lifting engines out of cars, just on the theme of dignity and how we treat our loved ones. Now, we can cue the video, actually. So we've developed the world's first robotic patient transfer that can transfer individuals at the push of a button. And what you will see here is, all the healthcare practitioner has to do is once we hit play here, is line up our device next to the patient bed. And then all they have to do is push a button, and then our device essentially takes over. Now, all along, the caregiver is able to communicate with the patient, provide them compassionate care, and the patient is feeling very secure as a result. The way it works is there's a compact conveyor belt type platform that extends out and then pushes down on the mattress. So we detect the type of mattress you may be on, and the algorithm and the AI adjust automatically. And then there's a conveyor belt type motion happening where as it's going underneath, it's replacing the surface underneath you. And this is a very comfortable and dignified experience as compared to perhaps the multiple repositionings and the jerky nature of how transfers are happening right now. And with that, the patient is moved on to our device. I'll just contrast that with today. Whenever a person is not ambulatory at all, you typically have one person who identifies, hey, I need to transfer this person. I need to get 2, 3, 4, 5 people, depending on the patient weight. Resources are not available. Well, they'll try to do it with as many resources as they have available, and they injure themselves. So we've taken a bit of a different approach than, let's say, Wareologie, where Wareologie is trying to rehab individuals. Our assumption is a lot of times patients may not be able to undergo rehab, and this is for the highly acute cases there.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that visual. I really appreciated it. Gina, can you tell us, please, what innovations are you looking forward to in improving what you're currently doing?
Well, caring for patients and tracking their recovery through the entire continuum is really where the direction of, I believe, healthcare is going. So from those initial recovery steps and into the patient's home so that we can reduce readmission rates. I think that coming from, I've had knee surgery and I'm probably one of the least compliant patients in terms of doing my rehab. So it'd be so nice to be able to communicate with our patients once they're returning home and just saying, hey, Abbie, I noticed you didn't do your PT today. Is everything okay? Is there something we can do? And, because we all need that encouragement. We know it's the right thing to do, but sometimes we just don't carve out time during the day. So I believe that with Wareologie, we're actually getting ready to submit a new NIH grant and looking at how we can add some smart sensors so that we can track the biometrics when people are first taking those steps, and then really creating a private and personalized prescription path, especially with orthoscopic surgeons who, want to monitor how much weight bearing you're putting on. Now we'll be able to track those sensors, look at the biomechanics, share it with the patient so that you can see how you're improving or how you're not improving, and then take that home with you to continue your recovery process.
So some of the things that you've mentioned in regards to goals are quite similar to a company I've had on before. They were on last week. We were talking about accessibility tech, and that's Camino Robotics. They have sensors in their e-roller and e-rollator. There are sensors near the knees and that are tracking your gait and tracking your steps, and so that your physical therapist or your daughter can make sure that you're following through on the assignments that you're being given in order to rehab. So it could be something that you can combine the type of technology that you're doing as well.
I love it.
Something to keep in mind. Yeah, I know that all of these advancements are helping older adults improve their ability to be independent. And so for Jay, I want to know from you, in regards to everything that you're doing, what innovations are you looking forward to?
So, I mean, I really appreciate what Gina and the company have done. I think the key issues with transfer technologies have been if you do everything according to the way it's supposed to be done, you may be safe. I mean, that's a maybe. But the reality is we live in a time where there's fewer caregiving resources, we're aging as a society. I think there's almost a need for us to use innovation to be able to age in a dignified and graceful way. My answer is in a similar fashion, which is technologies that can allow individuals to age at home gracefully. The story that pains me the most is thinking of a couple, and one of them has a fall in the shower, breaks a hip, and that's the last night they're going to spend together because one of them has to be institutionalized. And the reason for institutionalization a lot of times is the physical need of getting them in and out of bed and therapies.
Yeah.
What I envision is to have technologies, and I hope to be a part of that, that can allow individuals to get in and out of bed at home, rehab, instead of being institutionalized. And that's what I'm hopeful for.
I'm touched that you said that. My Nana fell, and now this was 20 years ago. She fell and broke her hip, and that was the last night that she spent with my papa. Because of that reason, he wouldn't be able to help her get in and out of bed. So she was in and out of rehabs and different assisted nursing facilities, and that really began a decline of what was a very active, robust lifestyle for both of them. So I really feel that deeply when I hear you say that. So I want to ask you to, for the senior living executives that are watching this, what should they be keeping in mind in order to improve safety and to protect residents? Gina, could you answer that, please?
Well, that's a loaded question because there's a lot of things to keep in mind, but understanding that there's new technology being developed daily, and you have so many entrepreneurs like Jay and I that are really here through an altruistic compassion to improve quality. And so just being open and willing to pilot some of these technologies. I mean, we kind of have a try before you buy policy. Like, if this is going to improve your your resident outcomes and quality, then fantastic. But we know that it does take an open mind and some time to be open to incorporating into the practice. And so just know that we're out there, and we appreciate you opening your doors to some pilots.
Yeah, I have a couple of testbed communities that I know would be open to testing it. So, and Jay, yeah, you're welcome. Jay, how about for you? What can senior living executives keep in mind?
I think, you're undergoing a lot of flux. I've been visiting senior living facilities since 2001, and the average resident in 2001 is not the average resident today, and it's going to be dynamic and changing. So we really appreciate the work you do. My mom represents one of you, and it's really important for us to, while we're fighting fires near term, is to also think about how can we get out of this paradigm and really look at innovations in a favorable manner to help solve some of those long-term issues, and investing in them early may be an idea similar to what Gina had said. And right now more than ever, it's really important for us to be able to take care of our loved ones and residents. It's important that our caregivers are healthy and happy, and a lot of it is a result of that. So that's really where this conversation comes full circle is, invest in your staff, and then you'll have happy residents. But again, you know better than me. I'm not an expert, but take it for what it is.
Oh, I think that's a very astute response. So thank you. That really is. And for anyone who wants to get in touch with you, Gina, what's the best way for them to connect with you to find out more about Wareologie?
You can go to our website, which is WARE OLOGIE, Wareologie, where we have tons of information, and you're welcome to reach out to us. We look forward to answering your questions, and open to, as product developers, forging the new path of innovation. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And for you, Jay, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn, if you have a LinkedIn profile, is always great. You can reach me directly and I'll always respond there. So I just posted a link. I'll put it in the comments chat, or there's the general contact at ableinnovations.com, and we'll definitely respond to that, but appreciate any and all feedback.
Wonderful. There you go. There's the website there. Now, I want to ask you one last question. Is there anyone else that should have been invited to this discussion that maybe wasn't represented here?
I would say,
yeah.
Go ahead, Gina.
I would say that, your safe patient handling advocates and technology review teams are instrumental in helping vet, not only what is exciting and coming down, but the pipeline, but also having those safe patient handling advocates are just instrumental to forging the path to indoctrinating these new technologies. So.
Yeah, great idea. How about Jay, your opinion?
In a similar light, yeah, absolutely. We brought on a new key advisor, Guy Fergala, who's been in this space for a very long time, and that people have tried time and time again to introduce new technologies, but they've failed for one reason or another. And some of these veterans really bring in nuances to the conversation, and why right now is perhaps the best time to push on safe patient handling. As there's a unique combination of factors that we can work together to improve healthcare in general. But those, similar to Gina, those folks would be great to bring on.
Great to know about that. I appreciate that. Well, guys, thank you so much for being my guests today. And thank you for shedding light on this topic that doesn't get talked about often enough. And we should definitely bring it up again and keep introducing it to our audience. And with that, let's go ahead and run the outro, please.